It's another Mailbag Friday on the podcast with some great questions from you on Twitter, including a Sonny Gray trade idea, as well as some breakout prospects to watch out outside of the top 10, and how the Braves should handle the Mike Soroka situation in 2022. So, some really great topics that I'm excited to talk about on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So, let's get into it.
Hey, this is Stacey Gotsoulias,
DC Lundberg,
Ryan Finkelstein,
Taylor Blake Ward,
host of Locked On Yankees,
Locked On Mariners,
Locked On Mets,
Locked On Angels,
and you're listening to Locked On Braves.
Locked On Braves,
Locked On Braves,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the game of baseball, including your Atlanta Braves over at tomahawktake.com. Also covered AA South for Prospects 1500 and the Birmingham Barons for Southside Sox. Also, please make sure you are following the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves so that you can be part of the podcast, make this an interactive show. You can ask questions, give feedback, all of that great stuff there on Twitter at Locked On Braves. You can do that on YouTube as well, so make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Get some really great comments down in the comment sections of those videos. Really do appreciate it there. Great place for us to discuss Braves baseball, so make sure that you're following us in both of those places. I really do appreciate the support there. And thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. We post episodes right now 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the off season. So plenty of Braves content out there, even during this lockout, for you to get your weekly Braves fix. So make sure that you are subscribed to the Locked On Braves podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And this is a Friday, so it is a Mailbag Friday. Got some really good questions out there that I'm really excited to talk about on the podcast today. Got another trade idea. Hopefully this one's not as controversial as the one last week where we talked about Marcell Ozuna for Madison Bumgarner trade. Some really good discussions coming out of that. This one has to do with Sonny Gray, so we'll get into that. Also got a question about some prospects to watch for outside of the top 10. So really looking forward to talking about that. I've been diving heavily into the prospects this off season, so it's been a lot of fun. And then we're going to talk about Mike Soroka as well, what the Braves should do with him, what the plan should be with him in 2022, and what you should expect from Mike Soroka in 2022 as well. But let's kick things off with another trade idea. Obviously, great discussion during the offseason to talk trade. So appreciate all the trade ideas, suggestions you've been sending in. This one comes from Chris Shaffy. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Chris. Apologize if not. You can let me know. And Chris said, do you see the Braves trading William Contreras and possibly another prospect for Sonny Gray? So obviously, I believe the Braves need another starting pitcher. I'll get into that a little bit more when we're talking about Mike Soroka as well. I do believe the Braves need to go out and find another starting pitcher, whether that be, I would obviously love a middle of the rotation pitcher if there's one available that makes sense. But even just getting, another fourth or fifth starter, somebody to help give you some quality innings. Now you can make the argument the Braves already have those fourth and fifth starters in hand with Kyle Wright and Tucker Davidson and Kyle Muller. I get that, but I also just love having depth in the starting rotation. You need a lot of starting pitchers to get through a season. So that's more so why I think the Braves need to go ahead and get another starting pitcher. Look, they just won a World Series with Charlie Morton for half a start in the World Series, Max Fried and Ian Anderson. Those three have proven they're good enough in the postseason to win a World Series. So if those three are healthy and good to go come postseason time, I feel very confident with those three. But over 162, you're going to need more help to get through a regular season. So that's why I'm on board, finding another starting pitcher this offseason. Now, will that be Sonny Gray? Should that be Sonny Gray? I actually wrote about this back in November on tomahawktake.com. My trade proposal then was Drew Waters and Tucker Davidson for Sonny Gray and possibly a reliever like Amir Garrett or Luis Sessa. That's a pretty big package as far as Drew Waters and Tucker Davidson. I understand that. And I'm going to get into why that's what the Reds should be going for. Remember, there's two sides to a trade. You have to give something that the Reds want. But for this trade idea in particular from Chris, he's talking about trading William Contreras. And obviously, it looks like Contreras could get moved at some point. The Braves just signed Manny Pena to be the backup catcher. They extended Travis d'Arnaud for 2 more seasons. Shea Langeliers should be ready to take over by possibly 2023, 2024 at the latest, it looks like. So William Contreras could be the odd man out. He's obviously been the subject of a lot of trade rumors this offseason, not from outside perspective, but more so with Braves fans, seeing the writing on the wall that Contreras could be on his way out. He could be the odd man out. Look, I'm also in favor, while we're talking about it, of keeping Contreras. I mean, look, good catchers are hard to find, and it's possible the Braves have 2 really good ones in Langeliers and Contreras. And while I understand, Contreras is going to want an opportunity to start every day, and I think Langeliers is going to be your 130, 140 game a year type catcher, I'm still not opposed to keeping Contreras around. Again, you don't come around, good catchers like that very often. I know Contreras has some work to do defensively, but I believe he will hit. So I'm not in the boat that thinks the Braves have to absolutely trade Contreras. But if it comes up in trade talks that a team really wants Contreras and you have an opportunity to make a big upgrade, and I think Sonny Gray would be a very solid upgrade in your rotation, or at least a very solid addition to your rotation, then I think you have to consider that. But it would have to be a really big deal for me to trade Contreras. I wouldn't just trade him for the sake of trading him because Langeliers is coming up. That doesn't make sense to me. I think Contreras is a good catcher, could be a good catcher at the big league level. I'd hang on to that unless it's an absolutely big upgrade. So looking at Sonny Gray, what does Sonny Gray give you? This past year had a 4.19 ERA in 26 starts, 135 and a third innings, a 1.22 WHIP, which is really good, a 3.3 walk per 9, and a 10.3 K per 9. So all those numbers are really good other than the ERA at 4.19. You look at his StatCast numbers in 2021, and they were actually some of the best of his career. Had a hard hit percentage of just 32.1 and an average exit velocity of 86.6. So those are both really good numbers that would lead you to believe he was a bit unlucky in 2021. That's why they had his xERA, his expected ERA at 3.25. So you look at that, ERA at 4.19 in 2021, that doesn't really tell the story. He was still a really good pitcher in 2021. You look at his 2022 projections, they have him anywhere from a 3.8 to a 4.2 ERA. That whip still around 1.2, 150, 160 innings, and, over a strikeout an inning. So, to me, that's a number 3 starter. You look at those projection numbers, I think he's a number 3 starter. That's probably where he would slot in the Braves rotation. You can put him right there, with Ian Anderson in that number 3 spot. Obviously very solid. I mean, you could go into a postseason and you would use Sonny Gray. I mean, look, he has the ability to be top of the rotation. Again, you look at those advanced metrics and they tell you that perhaps he should have been a top of the rotation pitcher last year. He's 32. So again, kind of coming out of his prime. He will make just over $10 million in 2022. So not a terrible contract. Has a $12 million team option for 2023 that does not include a buyout. So again, you're trading for him. You have the potential to have him for 2 years at a pretty solid rate for a middle of the rotation pitcher. So again, not a bad deal there. Reasons not to trade for Sonny Gray. I kind of gave you the reasons why maybe you would want to trade for Sonny Gray. I think he'd be a very solid middle of the rotation pitcher at the very least, with the potential to be top of the rotation as he has been at times in the past. Reasons not to trade for Sonny Gray. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm trading him as he is a frontline starter. And I think Cincinnati would and should do that as well. And not just that, but I'm trading him as a frontline starter with 2 years of control. If I'm trading him, I'm saying, look, this is Sonny Gray you're getting, a guy that can be a number 2 in your rotation. You're getting him for $10 million this year and $12 million next year, which is a pretty good price, compared to the free agent market out there for somebody like Sonny Gray. So if I'm the Reds, that's the way I'm marketing him. That's the way I am valuing him in trade discussions. And that's why when I did my article back in November, I said it would probably cost you Drew Waters and Tucker Davidson. I think it's going to cost you, 2 of your 10 or 15 best prospects. If I'm the Reds, that's what I would do. Who knows what the Reds would do in that situation, but if I'm the Reds, that's the way I value Sonny Gray in trade talks. A front of the line starting pitcher with a very good contract for 2 more seasons. So that's why I wouldn't do the deal, because I think the Reds would want a pretty good amount for him in return. Maybe you could do William Contreras and Kyle Muller. If you do the MLB trade evaluator, which, it can be helpful when trying to put together trade ideas, but not always the perfect place for evaluating trades. Kyle Muller and William Contreras would be pretty even to the value of what they have for Sonny Gray. That would probably be a more reasonable deal to do. But I mean, that's what you'd be looking at, in my opinion. If I'm the Reds, I would want 2 of the Braves, top 15 prospects in a deal for Sonny Gray. And I think there are bigger needs for the Braves. Again, we don't exactly know what they have money-wise, but they obviously have to get Freddie Freeman done first. And when that deal gets done, based on past payroll, things are going to be pretty tight already. So I just don't know what's in the budget for the Braves to do, to add another $10 million contract. I'm looking more at them getting somebody for, $5-6 million or less to kind of be a 4th or 5th starter and kind of be just a veteran starter at the back of the rotation, if I think they're going to do anything for the starting rotation. And they very well may not do anything for the starting rotation. Like I said, you have young guys like Wright, like Muller, like Davidson, that are ready to fill those roles right now. So it's, the Braves could stand pat there. I don't think they should, but I have a feeling that if they do, I don't think they would do it for not only somebody like Sonny Gray, which $10 million isn't a ton. Like I said, I think that's a reasonable contract, but with where the Braves budget could be once they sign Freddie and once they sign another bat, whether it be Rosario, Soler, somebody in the outfield, I just don't know how much room they would have left to take on somebody like Sonny Gray, who's making over $10 million this year, and give up the prospects that I believe it would take to get him. So, would I like to have Sonny Gray on the Braves? Yeah, I mean, I certainly would. I think it gives you, again, another solid, at least middle of the rotation type pitcher who could potentially have some upside. And again, not making a ton, a little over 10 million. Do I think the Braves will do it? No, I don't think they will, because I don't know that they'll have that kind of funds available to spend on a starter, or I don't think they'd be willing to give up the prospects that the Reds would want in that deal. So that's my thoughts on Sonny Gray trade possibility. Let me know on Twitter what you think the Braves would be willing to give up in a trade for Sonny Gray. If you think they should be going after Sonny Gray this offseason in trade talks. Like I said, I would love to have him on the Braves. I think he would fit in nicely in that rotation. But I think there are other needs ahead of him right now that need to get done that might prevent the Braves from making a deal like that. Very good question from Chris. Do appreciate it. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include a Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good you will want to eat them Unlike the other protein bars out there, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill, you know which ones I'm talking about. You want to eat healthy, but it gets so boring. By now in the new year, you're probably thinking, where is the chocolate? This is not worth it. Well, Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes out there at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever, you know where they are. Throw all that sugary or calorie-filled treats away and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible, whether it's the cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie, mint brownie, which are some of my favorites. So many great flavors over there and new flavors coming out all the time. Go to built.com, and while you're there, use our promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off our order. Make sure you use LOCKED15 at built.com to get 15% off your order. All right, this next question comes from Sean Berry at GarnetJag11 on Twitter. He says, when you get the prospects sorted out, who outside the top 10 do you think has the most potential pitcher and position player? And I am very close to getting my prospects sorted out. I got a couple more guys I want to watch, and then I'm going to unveil my top 10 prospects, ranking them by who has the most upside. So give it a little bit of a different twist on my prospect rankings, but I am very close to being ready for that. Like I said, a couple more guys that I want to watch. I know there's several different lists out there, so I'm going to go with the most recent one, the one over at Prospects 1500. And I'm going to look for guys outside of the top 10 there that I think could have the most potential. And I'm going to give two of those. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to give two pitchers. I'm actually going to talk about three pitchers, but two pitchers that I'm really excited about. It actually, guy, I just wrote up one of them. I'm probably going to write up another one, maybe after we get done recording here. So it might actually be out this weekend. But one of them is Joey Estes. I really like this kid. I think he has a very solid frame on the mound. I think he has a little bit of a different delivery with the way that he kind of hides the ball, and it's a very short arm action. But I really like his stuff. I really like his mound presence. I think he has the ability to be a number 2 in a rotation if some of his secondaries come along. I think the exact same thing for Freddie Tarnok, which is why, I'm kind of cheating here. I'm mentioning both of them, which I think Estes was like 11th on the list on Prospects 1500. So, not really going too far down the list there. But I do like Joey Estes. It's going to be a big year for him in 2022 as he steps up a level. Freddie Tarnok, you all know, really just been devastated by injuries in his career. But I've been watching him, all day on Thursday and Wednesday of this week. I've been watching his starts, trying to get a better feel for him. Again, a very tall, lanky kid, very long arm action, very different from Joey Estes' arm action, but a very good fastball that he can, I'll say he'll control it. He throws it for strikes, but doesn't quite have the command with it yet, but still a very good fastball and a very good curveball. I mean, he already has 2+ pitches. If he can develop a third one, even just an average pitch, which I think his changeup at times can be average. I mean, again, I think he has number 2 starter potential as well. So, those are two guys, and they're really just outside the top 10. So I'm not really going out on a limb with either one of those. But those are two guys who are outside the top 10 that I think have potential to be, front line starters someday for the Braves if they live up to their full potential and reach their ceiling. I think both of them could be number 2 starters someday. Position player wise, look, the Braves are not very deep position player wise as far as prospects go. You have Vaughn Grissom, who is, in a lot of people's top 10 right now. You have the outfielders, Michael Harris, Drew Waters, Christian Pache, Shea Langoliers. I mean, they have some solid guys at the top, but outside the top 10, there's just really not a ton there position player wise to get excited about. So I'm going to go with the guy who we have not even seen yet, but I was very excited about him when the Braves got him, and maybe it was because kind of their first big introduction into the international market again. But I'm really excited to see what Ambioris Tavares does. We should get a look at him in 2022, his first professional baseball season, or his first season in professional baseball. I'm very excited to see him. He's somebody that I think, obviously still very young, but has the potential, and the upside to really start to shoot up a lot of prospect rankings. So really excited to see what he can do. Again, I hope we get a look at him in 2022. Hope he's able to make it to Augusta this year. At least get some eyes on him there. But he's really the only one position player wise that outside of the top 10, I think has the most potential to kind of jump up prospect rankings. And then I was going to give you a deep sleeper as well, and AJ Smith-Shawver. I was really excited about the Braves getting this pick in the last draft, and I really can't wait to see what he does. He's somebody that's a deep sleeper for me that I think could potentially, be a number, front line starter and really jump up the rankings next year. So that's a deep sleeper for me. But really good question there by Sean. Again, I'm really excited about the prospects. I'm going to be watching a lot more prospects this season. Hey, if we don't have a major league season, then that probably is going to be all that I'm going to get to watch in 2022. But very good question there from Sean. Love talking prospects right now. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. A new year and a new updated desktop and mobile website, so sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, last question for this Mailbag Friday comes from VT Murdoch. He says, how would you handle Mike Soroka's 2022 season? So very good question here from BT as always. And I'm going to answer it how I would handle it. I'm also going to talk about, how I think the Braves should handle it or will handle it, what you should expect from Mike Soroka in 2022. The easy answer here for how to handle Mike Soroka is carefully. Look, I wouldn't even be considering him returning to the big leagues until after the All-Star break. I know he wants to play. I know he wants to compete. I know he wants to get out there as soon as possible. I also think he's rushed coming back from injury before, and it's kind of bit him, whether it's been the shoulder injury he had at the beginning of spring training a couple of years ago, and then he re-aggravated it and it set him back again, or whether it's been with this Achilles injury. I think he's rushed back a little too soon in the past. Just wait it out. Let's just wait it out as long as you can. Make sure he is fully healthy so that when he does return, it's for good, or at least for a long stretch, hopefully. So carefully, patiently is how I would handle Mike Soroka in 2022. What should the Braves expect from Mike Soroka in 2022? I would expect nothing. And I think the Braves should be moving forward right now as if they get nothing from Mike Soroka in 2022. I think you as a fan should be expecting nothing from Mike Soroka in 2022. That's why I think the Braves need to go out and get another starting pitcher. Don't be counting on a return from Mike Soroka, and certainly don't be counting on a Mike Soroka that can lead a rotation or be a 1 or 2 starter. If that happens and he comes back, then great. But I would not be counting on it right now. I would not count on anything from Mike Soroka in 2022. For me, if he just gets on a mound in 2022 and stays healthy, that is a win. That is a success. But I would not be counting on anything from him this season. What I hope for Mike in 2022, I hope Mike does come back after the All-Star break. I hope he has gotten all the time that he needs to get healthy, and I hope he does make a return after the All-Star break. I hope he gets 10 or 12 starts in this year with an ERA of 3.5 or to 4, something in that range. And I can already hear Chip Carey saying it when he does return after the All-Star break, that it's just like getting somebody at the trade deadline. You all know what I'm talking about, but I do hope he comes back after the All-Star break, gets 10 or 12 starts under his belt, and just really, starts to look like Mike Soroka again. And I'm very confident in that. I'm very confident we will see a very good version of Mike Soroka again. I don't know. There's something about the kid. I have that confidence in him that it will happen, but I would not be counting on it for this year for anything. I hope it happens this year. That's what I hope happens, is that he's able to pitch in the second half of the season and they're able to get to see a good version of Mike Soroka that's a number 3, number 4 starter this year. And then perhaps next year, 2023, he starts getting back to that top of the rotation, Mike Soroka. That is my hope for him. But most of all, for Mike's sake, I just pray that he can get healthy, stay healthy, and play the game that he loves, and that's really all I want for Mike Soroka. As a Braves fan, certainly I want to see him get back, pitch well, be a big part of this rotation, the future of this rotation. But just as, person to person, I just want to see Mike Soroka healthy and to be able to play the game that he loves. So that's what I really want for Mike this year. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. I do appreciate all the questions. Continue to send in your questions, and I'll make sure to get them answered on the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves, where you can write in those questions and give your comments and feedback on the episode as well. And you can follow me at Shortstop Ball on Twitter. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.